Well. I think there's been a switcheroo here. I was told earlier that marriage for women is not good for their mental or physical health.
Yeah.
The deeper in the study I go, it says it is good.
What?
I don't know what to believe anymore.
Me either.
A large study found that marriage helps to reduce death rate by a third for females, even those who were later divorced.
Wow.
They did a huge study. Check this out. Almost 12,000, I don't know why they did female nurses, but so you know what the study was about. Female nurses, mostly white and relatively well off, deciding on marriage in the early 90s. They followed these women who tied the knot between 1989 and 1993 compared to those who never got married, right?
Okay.
Even some of those who got divorced had a 35% lower risk of death than those who never married.
Interesting.
They had lower risk of cardiovascular disease, less depression, and loneliness. Well, loneliness makes sense. More optimism.
What about all the aggravation?
And a greater sense of purpose. This makes no sense.
Clearly, we're getting rid of the aggravation by never having been married or if we're divorced. So we get rid of the aggravation and it's better for our health.
No, they're saying the people who are, they're saying if the people who are married
Yes.
have all these health benefits.
Yes.
Women who are married are much healthier and happier than women who are not.
But what you originally said is that it was bad for our health. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay, so
That's
they
what I
did the
thought.
switcheroo.
They did a switcheroo.
I
Yes.
see.
There was like
I
a-
don't understand.
It's like a misleading headline, but then
Yeah.
it's like get into it and it's like, no, it's actually good for your health.
Okay.
Read the article.
Okay. Yeah. I was just reading from the paper that I have in front of me, and it
Yes.
says marriage is bad, and I get to it and it says, nope, it's good.
But what does the headline say?
Marriage is good for women's physical and mental health. In the article,
Yes.
on this other sheet, it says it's bad.
Yes.
It happens.
What were we talking about though earlier, where it
It was
said
something
that
else.
women were not getting married, and like
That's true.
yeah, that part is true.
So I think two studies we were talking about, we got mixed
Maybe
up.
that's what it
but
was. Yeah.
Women, fewer and fewer women are getting married in general.
I think just people in general.
People
no?
in general, but women, it's like it takes two, but it's the highest number of single females, I think, in the history of America.
Well, women are the ones most likely to initiate divorce,
80%.
which is ironic, and guys tend to settle a little bit more. Which it does seem like the guy should be able to get more aggravated as long as the marriage goes on.
Right. That's why it doesn't make any sense to me.
Weird.
Now, this was specifically for nurses, and then there was, a percentage that got divorced, but they still had lower risk of death.
And maybe I do hear this, and I'm not sure of the statistics on this, but if you're single and are not having sexy time as much as a marriage person, I do hear there's there's a lot of health benefits to sexy time, especially men.
Yeah.
And it does a lot, not only physically but mentally.
Absolutely.
And I think that maybe that might have something to contribute to it.
I think that makes sense. Now, of these people, the ones who got divorced, they still had a lower risk of death than those who had never married, but they also had a higher risk of death than those who stay married
Okay.
because there's poor health, well-being, isolation, depression, people who had been recently divorced. So
Okay.
I don't know what to believe anymore, but 80%, Katie, why do you think it is? Not, and you can't just say men, but 80% of all new divorces the last 10, 20 years are initiated by women. That's a pandemic.
80%?
Yes.
80?
80% of all new divorces are initiated by women. Is that a chronic unhappiness?
I could go on and on and on and on and tell you that I think it's becoming more socially acceptable for women to be single and live on their own and not have to get married in the first place, right?
Then you'll die young.
Okay, but it's still it's happening. But you know what I'm saying? You'll die.
You'll die.
Whatever that study says, you'll die.
Right.
I also think that women are feeling more comfortable speaking out against or about things that they're not happy about. Before
Sure.
it was like you just, we made this commitment and now I just have to live with it, even if I'm unhappy.
Right.
So I think that there was probably a huge amount of women who were unhappy back in the day, when they were still married, who just didn't say anything. You didn't want to rock the boat. They weren't working. They relied on their husband for money, for the income, to be able to have the lifestyle. And then now more and more women are going to college. They're earning their own income. They're entering into these relationships. And when they're not happy, they leave. So,
Yeah. I mean, but 80%, you think
That
it'd be
is a large-
that's kind of alarming to me.
Sure. But I mean, I wonder if it's just because the guy, stereotypically, whether, I don't know how
Sure,
fair it
yeah.
is, the man is cared for. Do you know what I mean? Like,
the-
there's not. It's like, oh well, we're simple
wait, when
creatures.
When does that happen?
No, but it's true. I mean, stereotypically,
Yeah.
the man go how it used to be. You go to work, come home, crack a
I like,
beer.
and I like how the going to work like doesn't count for anything.
Right.
Like you go to work to support your
Yes.
family. Like just go to work
well,
and work
because
all day.
now I guess it's because I do that.
Yeah, you do too. Yes.
I'm just
You're
now
so
I have a
expected.
different perspective because
Sure.
I'm doing the same thing. So yes, I go to work, I come home, I mom for the rest of the day. You know.
right.
But I think that back then the man had the responsibility of going to work, but not the kids, not the housework,
But now
not all
more
the other
men
things.
are doing that.
Right. So back in the
why-
day,
why
women
is it
weren't
80%
speaking up.
now?
Now I think women are more comfortable speaking up, and men also. You know, you guys, I think you don't rock the boat when it comes to. You're just like, oh well, that's just the way it is. My wife's a nag, and then but you don't do anything about
Isn't
it.
that better than like destroying your family?
I don't think that.
I mean, unless there's some, like-
complaining about your wife is a good thing.
But would
at
that still
all.
not be like venting to your friends better than blowing up your family? I mean, unless there's something severe that's happening that you know is not healthy or safe.
I don't know.
I think it's better to try
Yeah.
to work it out and with your
Sure.
friends like, oh, the old ball and chain, but you,
But how many guys do you know that do that?
all of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Mhm.
And so,
But
I
it's like
think-
they're joking though.
are they?
Yeah, a lot of
A lot of
times.
times. I mean, I think there's some
Are
frustrations.
you?
Yeah.
Everything that comes out of your mouths is how women are naggy and. I mean, except
I
for you,
feel like-
Jason, because we do say that you are the nag in the relationship.
I am.
And you say that. You say you are too.
I am.
You are the nag.
You know?
Yeah.
But it just seemed like, and when you were, I guess, maybe joking, but you say, oh, the aggravation. I'm always so aggravated by everything. Are you joking?
Oh, no. I mean, there's a lot of times that I'm aggravated, but I'm sure she's aggravated too. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as the point you're saying is if 80% of the women are initiating divorce now because they feel more comfortable, you're trying to make an analogy like, oh,
I think
because
they're just
back
not
in
settling.
because back in the day, it was stereotypical. The guy would just come home, work, and crack a beer. But now that's changed. So if that was the case, and guys are contributing
helping
we're
more.
helping. Why is it up to 80? It should be
Nothing is good enough.
exactly.
I have a
Doing more,
hypothesis.
and it's worse.
Yes.
It might be
So maybe
that
we should
attitude
start
right
doing-
there that leads to it.
Start
Maybe,
doing
I don't know.
less.
That's a good point,
Start
Jason.
doing less, and maybe that figure
Yeah,
will go
see
down.
how that works out for you. See how that works out.
I have a
We're at
hypothesis.
80% now.
Squid, what were you saying?
I have a hypothesis.
What?
I think
Uh-oh.
it's
get it from
just
Twitter?
You could just say a thought.
No, I have no. I think that women are like I agree with you, Katie. They're becoming a lot more, I guess, aware or comfortable with being alone and by themselves. But two, when a woman's unhappy in a relationship, she has many more options. And I feel like if a man's unhappy in a marriage, he a lot of time maybe out of fear, he's like, well, I'm gonna be alone for the rest of my life. Whereas a woman, she's like, I can get divorced, and her finding a new partner is a lot more likely.
I think there
There
could be
there
some
could be
truth
some
to
to
that.
that,
I
for
think there's a
sure.
social media component too, which makes us all feel unhappy when we all feel. Every study shows we're less happy moments after we're off of social media. I mean, as soon as we
yeah,
look
for
at it, we're
sure.
like, oh, my life's. I'm not in Bora Bora, or I'm not in
Right.
Yeah.
freaking
But
Myrtle Beach or whatever it is.
90% of that is all so fake.
It's
I mean,
fake, but it still gets in our minds.
Well, it's
Sure.
not fake. They're really there.
No,
it's just
no.
how you perceive
Well,
it.
if you know them personally, but
Yeah.
I have shown you guys videos of
Yeah.
how they make these fake TikToks or
Oh,
fake
yeah, yeah.
Instagrams where they're literally shooting a computer screen, and
Yeah.
it makes it look like they're in Bora Bora.
Yeah,
people
I can
are not
see
doing
that.
And there's
that.
like influencers.
And
too.
you're seeing people are only posting like
The
a lot
highlights,
of the
yeah.
highlights.
The highlights, yes.
Like if one family is in Bora Bora, and then another family is doing something cool, they just bought a new car. It doesn't mean that every family's buying a new car and going to Bora Bora. It's all separate to each
Yeah.
their own.
Right.
But it takes the perception that they're getting new cars and they're going on new trips. No, it's all spread
Mhm.
out.
That definitely plays into it. The social media where you're constantly comparing. And so you think the grass is always greener.
Right.
And then you say, well, so-and-so's husband bought her flowers and you don't ever buy, I think that
Oh, yeah.
leads to it. I also do think that we are a culture that doesn't plan ahead, where you're real hype to get that engagement ring.
Right.
You're real hype to have that wedding. And then you don't think past.
Well, I
any
also
of
I
that.
think the culture, and we all in different ways. I know for me, for sure, I think our culture is like if something's hard, you quit.
That too.
I mean,
That
we've
too.
seen we've had many great interns, and many of them have turned into people who work here. Squid's an exception, but he still works here. And then no, but Squid was a good intern. I was an intern. Katie had an internship in radio. Matt's had different things, working hard. And then we've had interns come in, which has been a definite change over the last maybe 5 to 6 years, Katie, wouldn't you say? Where they just don't care as much. There's some that are good, but most just don't really care, and they do the least amount of effort. If it gets hard, they just quit the internship. They don't care.
Yeah, they just don't show up anymore. And Squid said one time, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
And there is that mentality.
Yes.
It got hard. I'd rather not.
I think that seeps in too.
Yeah.
And so then
Mhm.
people bounce.
Yes.
And then I do have this theory that I've had for a long time that we are so conditioned in this culture currently, the last 20 years, for everything is new. Everything is new all
Sure.
the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
everything is fast and new. So we got the new TV. We got the new streaming service. Oh, my TV's buffering for 2 seconds. What is wrong with this thing? You know, we got the new car, the new house, the new friend sometimes, new job, but you have the same old person next to you. So everything around you is new restaurant, new food, new
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. I
And then
can see
you're,
that.
and I don't think you do it on purpose, but then like everything's new and exciting, quote unquote, but it's really not, except for the person that you're with. And so then in your mind, like, I want something new. And then a whole like
Well,
another
Katie,
set of
do you
problems.
have a lot of divorcee friends? Or do you know some couples that got divorced, girls that initiated divorces?
I think I have 2,
Okay, would you?
but they're now both remarried or in
Okay.
long-term relationships. Yeah.
That's my point.
Mhm.
So
But they
you-
initiated
you
it.
said
No,
the
I
grass
don't.
is not always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
What was it for them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Did
was.
they have kids when
Yeah.
they got divorced?
No.
I think it makes it more
And that
complicated.
definitely
That adds a whole-
complicates it.
'cause then it's still
Yeah.
very traumatic to go through
Mhm.
divorce. I'm not discounting people who don't have kids and got divorced. It's very traumatic.
But
if you
it's a
have
little
kids,
cleaner.
it's way different. It's almost like having a really bad breakup. We have kids.
Yeah.
It's a whole. You're tied. You're back and forth. You're feeling bad, sad. I mean, as someone's
For
been through a divorce,
18
very-
years.
yeah, you're very sad for
Or
them,
plus.
and you feel like you failed. There's all sorts of feelings that of inadequacy when you go through a divorce and you have kids.
Yeah.
Where it's very difficult, and then it's a whole new set of problems, and then it just becomes there's a lot to it. I know people that have been divorced, and every person maybe without exception, they've gotten divorced. Their wives initiated it, and no lie, the men should have.
Oh.
They put up with
Yeah.
a lot of junk. Some put up with affairs and all sorts of stuff because they want to keep their family together. That's just been my experience. And I've also known there's been some horrible dudes that the wives should have left them.
Yeah.
But
I think it's all, who you hang out with and who you talk to and who shares their story honestly too.
yes.
Because we talk about therapy a lot on the show, and now it is something that is so embraced, and
Yes.
it's encouraged. You're encouraged to go to marriage counseling or to individual therapy. And there are some people in marriages who are like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Or I'm not working on myself.
Nope.
Or they say they will, but then they don't. Or, well, you liked it when you married it, and you're like, you have to evolve.
Right.
You have to evolve.
And I think some people go into marriage thinking, if it doesn't work out, I'll leave. Instead of thinking, I'm going to make this work.
Right.
Outside of really terrible, horrible things that you should, that no one should put up with.
I told you it was going to be a long answer.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a
there's
good
a lot
answer,
of reasons.
though.
So I don't think that there's just one thing. I don't think that it's women just saying, "Oh, I can, so I will." Maybe there's some of that.
Yeah.
But
I think it's alarming, though.
It's a lot. Well, yeah.
If it was
I
like
mean,
60,
if it were
40,
if it were 80% dudes,
I think
would
it's
that
alarming.
be alarming?
It would be
Yeah.
alarming.
But
What is going? Is there?
I don't
is there
know.
an epidemic of unhappy men? If 80% of men were ending marriages, I think something's wrong with men.
I don't think that it is a new wave of women being unhappy. I do not think that. I think it is a new wave of women speaking up about the things they're unhappy about. It's the speaking up.
Y'all need to speak less. No, I'm kidding. I'm
I,
kidding, Katie.
I could divorce you right now. I would.
Oh, Katie, I know you would.
And the crazy thing is guys typically age better than women physically,
Right.
but they're the ones that are getting rid of us. Something's backwards.
It's backwards. I don't know. Do your best to keep things going if
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
Be forgiving. Have respect.
could go all
do
day on
agree
that
the
one.
respect thing. I think we all are on board
Yes.
that fall in respect.
They are. Your spouse is an individual human being who existed before you, and whether you like it or not, will exist after you.
and treat them as such.
So yeah, you
Or
have to see
her
them
as
as
such.
equal.
Yeah.